Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and county assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you are pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation. It's so just and faithful a manner to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county, and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Clerk, kindly take us to the order of the day.
Third assembly, third session, order paper number 205 of today, Wednesday, 26 June 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I have two communications to make. Number one, in the gallery, we have got students and teachers from DC Secondary School. DC Secondary School is in Kisumu County, Nyando Sub-County. And with the students, Mr. Peter Omukoba, Mr. Silvanus Ondieki, Mr. Matthews, and Mrs. Ross Omolo. Feel welcome to Kisumu County Assembly. And I think I will give some few members to welcome them. I see the Honorable Leader of Majority. But before I give him that chance, I want to communicate that I have received information from both the Leader of Majority and the Chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee that we are coming to close of the year, and as per the Public Finance and Management Act, we are supposed to conclude the process of budget making by 30th of June every year. But for this year, unfortunately, 30th is falling on a Sunday. So we had scheduled our budget completion process to be on the 27th. So I want to request that by the goings in the country, let all members come early so that we prepare for the same. But I think the leader of majority will be having time to communicate the same. Now, on my first communication, these students are from Nyando. So the leader majority, you are coming from Nyando. Then after the leader majority, I will give one, I don't know it's Nyando from which, I ought to have known which ward. This is in which ward? Kadebo. Also, it's also the leader majority. So I'll give the chair education and then one lady. So majority leader, you go first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to take this opportunity to welcome students and teachers from DC Secondary School. DC Secondary School is in Kochogo village, that is in Ahera ward. Mr. Speaker, this is a school that I'm proud of because it was started when I was the constituency manager, Nyando constituency then. And I know, to remind some of them, my political name in the village is called Ken Nyale. So here is Ken Nyale representing you in the County Assembly of Kisumu. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to tell the students that are present here that unlike national government, in county government we have two arms of government, the executive and the assembly. The executive is headed by the governor, but the assembly is headed by the speaker. In our County Assembly of Kisumu, we have 47 members, 35 are elected to represent different wards in the county, and 12 are specially elected by the party. Out of the 35, we have 34 representing ODM, and 1 representing the independent side. And I want to tell you that our core mandate as an assembly is to oversight the executive, to represent the electorate, and also to legislate. I want you to feel most welcome. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Education Committee.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to join the majority leader in welcoming the students from DC Secondary School to the Assembly of Kisumu. Honorable Speaker, I want to encourage them that most of the people they are seeing here also went through the process that they are going on with right now. I want to boast of this assembly as having very many professionals. We have engineers here, we have teachers, we have epidemiologists, we have so many professionals in this house, and that can only happen if you can do so well in what the teachers are telling you right now in school. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also congratulate them on behalf of the Gen Zs of Kenya. They have stood firm to make right what we have not been able to do for several years. So as Gen Zs who are in this house today, just know that the County Assembly of Kisumu is proud of you, and we promise to back you up in whatever you are doing, including your education. As the Chair of Education, I want to bring to your attention that we promised as Kisumu government that we will be giving students bursaries and scholarship. I know if there's a student in DC who had a scholarship from the county government, their money has been paid, but we want to apologize that the bursaries are delaying, but we promise that by the end of this month we shall have all the students bursary paid through the county government of Kisumu. Those are my remarks, Honorable Speaker. Welcome to the students of DC.
What is it? Are you a lady? I said after the chair education.
Bwana Speaker, nilikuwa naona ni kama wanafunzi wasidhani ni kwamba katika chumba hii ni lugha moja peke yake ndio imekubalika kuongoleshwa. Bwana Speaker, wacha nianze kwa kushukuru kwa nipatia fursa hii ili nikaribishe wanafunzi kutoka DC kata ndogo ya Nyando kwa kukuja hapa County Assembly ya Kisumu. Bwana Spika, wanafunzi wa Nyando DC, na ningependa kuwajulisha ya kwamba mko na bahati sana kwa kupata fursa kama hii kukuja kwa chumba cha County Assembly ya Kisumu. Kitambo sisi tulikuwa tunapata fursa kama hii, lakini ilitubidi tuende hadi Nairobi ndio tuone chumba cha kutengeneza sheria, na ilikuwa ni chumba moja tu inaitwa National Assembly. Na kwa sababu ya kazi mzuri ambayo mzee ambaye tunamheshimu sana, mzee anaitwa Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, alifanya mpaka tukapata gatuzi, na sasa tuko na county assemblies katika counties zote 47. Kwa hivyo ningependa muendelee na mkuwe mkijua ni Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga ndiye alifanya mkapata nafasi kama hii, na tunamuombea Mungu ampatie nguvu ili tuzidi kuona matunda ya ugatuzi katika sehemu zetu za Kisumu. Asante sana Bwana Speaker, na hiyo ndio nilikuwa nataka kusema.
Tafadhali mungeeleza Bwana Okoyo kuwa County Assembly ni bunge la ugatuzi. Honorable Millicent Omuya.
Yes, thank you Mr. Speaker, sir. First, I want to say karibuni katika assembly ya Kisumu. Hivi ndivyo assembly imekaa. Ni nyumba ambayo na sheria ambayo imeitunza, na mtapata heti hamkuwa na ruhusa ya kuja paka tuulizwe. Nimefanya mkafika, na mkisikia venye speaker anaongea, aliongea akasema nataka a honorable lady. Huyo mwenye amemaliza nitasema ni mwanamke mwenzangu, na ndiye imefanya ameongea. Anaitwa Honorable Okoyo. I'm called Honorable Millicent. And to the girls, I want to tell you that it is possible. It is possible. We started from somewhere just the way you've started. You will once be honorable members of the assembly. You can be senators. You can be women reps. You can be MPs. It is possible. Just work hard and it is possible. Karibuni sana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Except that kindly inform Honorable Millicent that when you start in Kiswahili, should be Kiswahili. You know, our standing order provides for 3 languages, so you choose one. And when you start in one, you complete with the same.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you allow me, it is worth recognizing that the students before us are Gen Zs. Yes. No, not Alpha. They are Gen Zs. And I really want to appreciate the effort that they are making to ensure that those charged with the responsibility of making sure that this county prospers and services are delivered to the public are accountable. So just as your colleagues outside there, I just want to encourage you that you keep in check. When you grow up, you be responsible, but at the same time, you be careful that because I know one day most of you will be vying in such positions. So when you grow up, make sure that you don't let down this generation that has made history in Kenya and world. So we are proud of your generation. Just don't let it down when you grow up. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to indulge members that tomorrow we have a very important day because we'll be going through the appropriation bills, and with the prevailing environment in the country, I want to ask all members, I will persuade all members to come to the assembly early enough, and I also want to request each member to be one skipper. And with that, Speaker, I would also like to ask the administration, at least for tomorrow, to arrange for lunches for the members so that we avoid any inconveniences. Otherwise, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Commencement on business. Order number 8, motion that this House adopts a report of Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 on the medium term, by the Honorable Joachim Okech.
Honorable Joachim Okech, MCA Kondele Ward and Chair Budget and Appropriation Committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I really have to thank you for allowing me to use this special, I don't know how we call it, but I'm being informed it's podium. Honorable Koyo is correcting me. He also taught me some new Kiswahili. I don't know, something Katandogo. I don't know what is Katandogo, but it's telling me sub-county. So I am natoka katika Katandogo ya Kisumu Central. I hope that is the right Kiswahili. Kisumu ya Kati. So Mr. Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to present a report on the consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term. Basically a report on the budget and appropriation. So Mr. Speaker, we have the report sent on our groups. We have the main report, and because the report is very voluminous and we are a paperless assembly, Mr. Speaker, I have prepared moving notes so that I believe the members had gone through the report. And we've also had very different sector meetings, and I believe members have acquainted themselves with the budget, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the Public Finance Management Act, that is 2012, position county assemblies at the heart of the budget making process. That is section 131, part 2 of this act, and standing orders number 189, part 3, B, and standing order number 222, part 5 of the Kisumu County Assembly mandates the County Budget and Appropriations Committee to discuss and review the estimates of revenue and expenditure and table report to the House for consideration. So members, there are areas where I will be referring you to the pages, but basically it is the same report that we did discuss a few days back. Mr. Speaker, in adherence with the provisions of Section 129, Part 2 of the PFM Act 2012, the CCM Finance, Economic Planning and ICT submitted the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 for the County Executive to the County Assembly on Tuesday, that was 30th April 2024, and if you see Annex 1. Equally, the Clerk of the Assembly, Mr. Speaker, submitted the County Assembly budget estimates in line with the Section 129, Part 3 of the PFM Act 2012. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders number 222, Part 3 and Part 4 and 5 of the County Assembly, the estimates of revenue and expenditure was tabled on Thursday, 2nd May 2024, and committed to the County Budget and Appropriation Committee and the sectoral committees for review in line with their respective mandates. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Section 107, 129, 130, 131 of the PFM Act 2012, Regulation number 25 to 37 of the PFM Act, Regulations of 2015, and the Standing Orders number 189 and 222 of the Kisumu County Assembly. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, to process the 2024-2025 estimate, the committee held a total of 15 meetings, including a meeting for adoption of its tentative program for processing the estimates, 12 meetings with the chairpersons of the sectoral committees after reviewing the budget of the various departments and sectors, the County Public Service, City of Kisumu, and the County Treasury, and the County Revenue Board. Upon laying of the budget estimates, various sectoral committees embarked on reviewing and studying the programs and policy objectives of the assigned departments as contained in the proposed budget estimates. The sectoral committees also held consultative engagements with their respective line departments on 20th, 21st, 23rd of May 2024 to gain deeper insights on the departmental budgets. Mr. Speaker, on public participation, the committee sought views of the public on the proposed budget estimate for the financial year 2024-2025 during public participation exercise advertised on the Star and Daily Nation newspaper. You can see that on Annex 2, conducted on 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. That was a full week, Mr. Speaker, so that we could give each sub-county a chance. Mr. Speaker, this public participation was done per ward, and it is one of the changes that we reviewed as a committee to ensure that public participation reaches up to even the village level. During the hearings, members of the public, through oral presentations, raised very pertinent issues and proposals. The committee has equally received a total of 15 memoranda from the following stakeholders and community-based groups: Kisumu County Viva Peer Educators, Shining Hope for Communities, that is Shopko, Agoro Farmers Cooperative and Awasenjeko Ward, Community of Practice, Residents of Southeast Nyakach Ward, Jitahidi Youth Group, Tangne Kwecho Women Group, Otada Group from North Seme Ward, Kadupa Junior and Anyuang Women Group from East Seme, Guba Base Group, Karambira Development Group, and Andar Area Women Group from Central Seme, West Reru Widows and Smart Sisters Women Group from West Seme. And Mr. Speaker, as you can see, people from West Seme were very particular about the budget. The committee has also considered submissions from members of the public in its recommendations to this House, and attached both the compiled oral submissions from each ward as annexed in Annex 3 and the memorandum as Annex 4. The reports by sectoral committees were presented by the chairpersons in a joint consultative workshop that comprised the budget committee, the relevant county executive committee members, accompanied by their technical staff, and the county treasury from 3rd to 6th of June 2024 in Nairobi. We've also consolidated the sectoral committee reports that was presented by the chairs. The deliberations brought forth pertinent issues across all sectors of the county, which has largely impacted the informed policy and financial recommendations we have made in this report. And this I want to bring to the attention of members that for the first time, we insisted that because we committed the budget to sectoral committees, it was again prudent that the chairs of the said sectoral committees were to present their report and findings to the budget committee, as opposed to the CECs that were interrogated to present the report on their behalf. And that is why we had to ensure that we invited all the sectoral chairs to make the presentations. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Section 131, Part 2 of the PFM Act 2012, the committee has equally sought for views and recommendations of CCM, Finance and Community Planning regarding the submissions made by members of public, concerns raised by sectoral committees during the consultative forum held from 9th to 10th June 2024 in Mombasa County. Mr. Speaker, we express our deepest gratitude to the sectoral committees for their thorough oversight efforts over the departments and members of the public for taking time to attend the public hearings and presenting their views to the committee for inclusion in this report. The committee is grateful to the County Treasury, other line departments, County Assembly Service Board, County Public Service Board, and the City of Kisumu for honoring invitations and giving insightful recommendations, which is our decision making. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I am grateful to the Office of the Speaker of the County Assembly, the Office of the Clerk of the County Assembly, the committee members, the Directorate of Legislative Procedures and Committee Services, the Committee Secretariat and Technical Staff for their invaluable support to us. We discharged our mandate of reviewing the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term. It is therefore my pleasant duty, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the County Budget and Appropriation Committee, to table the report on revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-25 and the medium term for the County Executive and the County Assembly. The estimates of revenue, Mr. Speaker, and expenditure for 2024-25 are anchored on the Governor's clarion call of Wasetimo Wadoktimo, which embodies the county government's commitment to consolidate the progress made in the last phase of the government activities and opening new frontiers for development in various sectors in line with the Governor's 10-point agenda in his manifesto. The budget is aimed at revitalizing the agriculture sector for food security and agribusiness, ensuring a healthy population living in a clean environment, environmental conservation, as well as opening the Kisumu lakefront business opportunities, improving and rehabilitating dilapidated access roads due to the prolonged rains, Mr. Speaker, finishing incomplete installed projects, increasing access to clean and safe water by drilling boreholes and extensions, among other development programs. The total proposed budget for the financial year 2024-2025, Mr. Speaker, is Kenya shillings 13,748,975,331. This comprises of Kenya shillings 5,469,295,446 billion in personnel emolument, and Kenya shillings 4,193,412,564 in operations and maintenance, what is popularly known as O&M, and Kenya shillings 4,086,267,321 in development expenditure. The submitted estimate, Mr. Speaker, will be financed from the total county resource envelope projected at, that is 13,748,975,331, which comprises of, that is one, how we intend to finance the budget. Mr. Speaker, from equitable share of revenue, the county intend to receive Kenya shillings 8,485,665,357. Conditional and unconditional grants, Mr. Speaker, Kenya shillings 1,566,236,874. On-source revenue projection, Mr. Speaker, at Kenya shillings 3,697,073,100. Based on the submitted budget estimates, Mr. Speaker, of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-25, the cake has been appropriated to the various county executive sectors and the assembly as follows. Medical services, public health and sanitation. The department has been allocated 1,274,161,765, of which Kenya shillings 165 million has been set aside for development. Further, 1.1 billion has been allocated for operations and maintenance, majorly comprising of transfers to Jaramogi, Oginga Odinga and Referral Hospital, Kisumu County Hospital, county and sub-county hospital services, health centers, dispensaries to promote health care for universal health coverage and provision of insurance subsidies to informal sector and indigents. The department allocation is partly funded by the NIDA, that is the Danish International Development Agency, which is a conditional grant at 10,530,000, and community health promoters, which is also a grant at 70,459,609. So those are the major breakdowns of how the health department will be funded. The rest will be funded by CRF, which is from the Exchequer. On infrastructure, energy, and public works, the department has been allocated a total of Kenya shillings 628,426,006 shillings, which includes 195,718,947 conditional allocation for road maintenance fuel levy fund, which is popularly known as KRB roads, for construction of 265 kilometers of roads and improving dilapidated roads due to the prolonged April-May rains. 10 million for box culverts, 16.2 million for CRF roads, that is in departmental. We have the breakdown in the main report. And 140 million for Nambakapio flagship project. I am giving you the proposal as it was in the report. Then I'll read for you the recommendations, what the committee felt and how to probably reappropriate the money further. Construction and maintenance of street lights and floodlights at 26 million. If you check Annex 8 details of development projects, you'll be able to get the detailed program. And 170 million for operations and maintenance, and 98 million for machine-based program. That is what was proposed. Then we have recommendations from the committee. Under agriculture, fishery, livestock development and irrigation, the department has been allocated 345,698,842 to improve food security and lower cost of living by investing in high value and crop value chains and introducing input subsidy program. It comprises of Kenya shillings 263,841,315 for development and 81,857,527 in O&M, that is operation and maintenance. This budget is majorly funded by grants, which includes 151,515,152 conditional grant from NAV CDP, and then Kenya shillings 15,407,244, another grant, agricultural business development project. And then again, Kenya shillings 28,269,703, that is practical action agriculture. And then again, 15 million, that is change maker, and 21,918,919 Kenya agribusiness development project. How we fund the Department of Agriculture. On education, technical training, innovation, and social services, the department has been allocated 495 million, which comprises of 200 million in development and 295 million in operations. This allocation is largely meant for the completion and construction of ECD classrooms and VTCs, capitation to VTCs and ECDs at 90.2 million, and bursaries and scholarships at 205 million Kenya shillings. Water, environment, natural resource, and climate change. The department has a total allocation of 395,033,481, which includes partial funding of 148,500,000, that is finance locally led action plan FLOCA, conditional grant earmarked to benefit all the 35 wards, Mr. Speaker. 324 million has been set aside for development, which will increase the coverage and improve access to clean and safe water from 58% to 66% in the county. It will also enhance a climate resilient county with clean and healthy environment, Mr. Speaker. On lands, physical planning, housing, and urban development, Mr. Speaker, the department has been allocated Kenya shillings 1,066,018,059, which includes 830 million meant for KISIP 2, being intended to improve infrastructure in various informal settlements in Kisumu City and Muhoroni. Kenya shillings 27 million for purchase of land bank, Kenya shillings 15 million for completion of valuation roll, Kenya shillings 20 million for establishment of much needed county special bank, and Kenya shillings 75 million for operationalizing the newly created municipalities, among others, Mr. Speaker. Trade, tourism, industry, and marketing, the department has been allocated 260,983,343, which includes Kenya shillings 150 million for establishment of county aggregation in industrial park, Kenya shillings 50 million county enterprise fund to offer flexible credits for MSMEs, and 10 million for market cleaning and development of cooperative legislation and enterprise fund regulation. Mr. Speaker, sports, culture, gender, and youth affairs, the department has been allocated 253,080,452. This is mainly for artistic talent development at 5.9 million Kenya shillings, culture and heritage development at 6.6 million, grassroots sport talent support and development at 9.8 million, and Moi Stadium development at 150. Though, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of Moi Stadium, as we discussed in our committee level and all the stakeholder engagement, there's a proposal that to ensure that this money is absorbed and used appropriately, there was a request that the money be appropriated in a different department so that it is. We've done this appropriation for several times, but the department has not been able to do it effectively, which is one of our recommendations for the tail end. Mr. Speaker, the city of Kisumu, the department has been allocated Kenya shillings 301,115,358. This includes Kenya shillings 30 million for completion of Kaloleni Social Hall, Kenya shillings 20 million for completion of Rota Bridge, Kenya shillings 20 million for solar lighting implementation on various streets within Kisumu County. Public Service, County Administration and Participatory Development, Office of the Governor, the department accounts for the largest share of this budget, Mr. Speaker, amounting to 5,854,136,678. It majorly comprises the consolidated P&E figure. Remember, previously the personnel emolument was appropriated differently in different departments. But for ease of management, this time around, all the P&E has been lumped up under public service so that the Directorate of HR is able to monitor all the activities of HR. And that is also a major shift in this budget, Mr. Speaker. The P&E includes allocation for recruitment. Let me read this part again. It majorly comprises the consolidation of P&E figure at 5.1 billion for the county executive. The P&E includes allocation for recruitment of 200 ECD teachers, 70 instructors for the VTCs, and 50 inspectorate officers. The Kenya shillings 20 million from the budget is set for disaster management. Under development, Kenya shillings 30 million is allocated for construction of new ward offices, and another Kenya shillings 5 million for completion of the stalled ward offices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Finance, Economic Planning and ICT, the department has been allocated 1,899,881,000, of which, Mr. Speaker, I need to make this correction, Kenya shillings 800 million. It was initially 1 billion, but because of the various committee recommendations and absorptions of the different votes that we had deficit, the money was reappropriated from 1 billion to 800 shillings, and that's why I want to read, of which Kenya shillings 800 million is set aside for payment of verified pending mills. Other major expenditure priority to be financed include Kenya shillings 120 million transfer to Lakefront from opening the Kisumu Lakefront business opportunities, Kenya shillings 80 million transfer to Kisumu County Revenue Board to enhance revenue mobilization, and Kenya shillings 70 million for emergency relief and response, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kisumu County Public Service Board, the department has a total allocation of 48,319,347 to promote its operational efficiency and for development of system and policies for effective HR management. The County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, the County Assembly has a total recurrent budget of 827, 121,358, in line with the previous, and I need the members to be very keen on this, in line with the previous CARA of 2023, and 100 million allocated outside its ceiling for development. The development budget is meant to facilitate completion of the ultra-modern county assembly. The reason why we are still using the CARA for 2023, the CARA 2024 is towards the tail end, and we are only awaiting for the assent. So, of course, we already know what is there, but we could not use it because it has not been signed. So the new CARA increases the ceiling of the assembly by 170 million. So once we have the document that is officially signed, then at the bill stage, because we expected the document to be here by today, but we haven't received. So probably we expect to receive the document any time from now. So should we receive the document, then we shall make the amendments at the bill stage and not at the reporting stage to increase the ceiling of the assembly by 170 million. Mr. Speaker, outlined below is the breakdown of the proposed county assembly budget for the financial year 2024-2025. I'll just briefly take the members through it, and if you look at it, it is one of the most open budget that we can have because it has very few issues. If you look at Office of the Clerk at 30 million, Finance and Accounting Services 24, it's the same information that the members were taken through. Nothing has changed except waiting for increasing the ceiling by 170 million, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, if you go to the next page on key recommendations, resulting from these extensive consultations, Mr. Speaker, the committee made the following financial and non-financial recommendations. And if you look at reference, that is page 5 to 7 of the method document that you have, emanating from this observation, the committee made the following non-financial recommendations. That taking into account Senate Resolution Thursday 9th May 2024 on the status of county pending bills, the CCM Finance Economic Planning ICT to prepare and submit a pending bill payment plan to County Assembly and the Controller of Budget by 31st July 2024. The CCM should further ensure that the verified pending bills are progressively prioritized for payment as a first charge on the county revenue fund within the approved fiscal framework and report to this House quarterly, which has not been happening, and therefore it is a requirement. Part 2, Mr. Speaker, the County Assembly to domesticate CES Act. I saw a very heated discussion today in our subgroup about the CES, and therefore the County Assembly to domesticate the CES Act for proper administration and utilization of CES revenue for the realization of its intended to promote infrastructural and development in the CES collection region. Of course, I saw Honorable Regina and Seth trying to educate each other on the same. Part 3, Mr. Speaker, that by 30th September 2024, the county treasury to submit to the county procurement plan to this House. By September 30th, the county treasury to submit to the county assembly procurement plan to this House that all procurement of goods, civil works must be finalized by December each year. Hence, contractors must be on the site latest by January 2024 with provision of timelines for completion of projects and to avoid projects overlapping and overlapping into the next financial year, Mr. Speaker. That all county government sectors to timely submit their strategic work plans and quarterly implementation report to the Assembly in compliance with the law. That by 31st July 2024, Mr. Speaker, the Directorate of Monitoring and Evaluation submit to this House a report on the status of implementation of projects for the current budget, that is 2023-2024. Consequently, the Sectoral Committee and Implementation Committee report with the recommendations to this House. Mr. Speaker, number 6, that by 30th October 2024, the CCM Lands, Housing and Fiscal Planning and Urban Development in consultation with CCM Finance, Economic Planning ICT to submit the county spatial plan to this House for approval in line with the provisions of Section 102 to 115 of the County Government Act 2012 for proper planning and management of public expenditure. Number 7, Mr. Speaker, that by 31st July 2024, the CCM Public Service Administration, Participation Development and Office of the Governor to submit to this House an updated county executive staff database for scrutiny, examination and validation to justify the consolidated figure for P&E. The department gave a consolidated figure of 5.1 billion. But now we need the figure to be broken down per department so that we know how much each department is consuming based on P&E, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the county revenue mode to enforce and implement the following revenue raising measures in order to realize on-source revenue target and reduce the county fiscal deficit. 1, HR reforms in the revenue sector to be undertaken. There has been serious complaint when we're doing the sector meetings that, of course, the revenue board were given staff, but they believe that some of the staff that were seconded to them have not been competent enough to be able to help them in raising revenue. And therefore, there is a request to allow HR reforms in the revenue sector to be undertaken. Part 2, strengthening the debt collection unit, because, Mr. Speaker, we've realized that several invoices have been raised. And on the presentation by Revenue Board, they amalgamate the figure of invoices raised as revenue that they expect to get. But when they don't have a strong debt collection unit, then we are not able to get these monies into the accounts of the county. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, appropriately raise hospital user fees and charges in the county finance bill 2024 to achieve FIF revenue target. Members, if you are very keen in the mother report that you have, there's also a major shift in our health sector. And because it is this House that passed the FIF bill, The hospitals are trying to be self-sufficient. They are trying to be able to depend on their own. And it is also a major shift in this budget that some of the hospitals like UTRH have been left now to survive on their own. And therefore, they've been given an allocation of over 600 million, probably I think around 700 million, so that they collect on their own because they have FIF and they are able to survive on their own without major injections from the county revenue fund, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the hospital, probably when we'll be handling the finance bill, they are requesting to amend some of our user fees so that they don't just charge nil, but they're able to charge something a little bit so that they're able to be self-sufficient, Mr. Speaker. Part 4, map and integrate data for all enterprises in the county, in the automated revenue system, including the newly created markets for expansion of the county revenue base. Mr. Speaker, recommendation number 9, that by 31st July 2024, the CCM for Finance and Economic Planning submit to this House implementation status of various House resolutions adopted during approval of the budget for the financial year 2023-2024 and the county fiscal strategy paper for the financial year 2024-2025. We make a lot of recommendations just like we are making today. Some of them are followed, but some of them are just left to gather dust. And therefore, we are making it very strict for the relevant department to be able to submit the implementation status of some of these recommendations. Number 10, that by 31st July 2024, the CCM for Trade, Tourism, Industry and Marketing to develop and submit to this House the Enterprise Fund Act regulation for proper administration and implementation of the Kisumu County Enterprise Fund to provide flexible credit to micro, small and medium enterprises, Mr. Speaker, in the county. The county treasury also to second certified accountants and procurement officers to all auditable. Let me repeat that. The county treasury to second certified accountants and procurement officers to all auditable county health facilities and vocational training centers to ensure proper management and administration of public funds, prepare and maintain accurate financial and accounting records to improve the fiscal and financial reputation of the facilities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am very privileged to sit in the Committee of Health, and some of the presentations and the finding of various investigative roles that the committee has been doing, we realized that some of the accounting officers for these facilities were not qualified, and therefore we feel that the Treasury should be able to second for them certified accountants so that they are able to properly manage this institution, Mr. Speaker. Number 12, that by 30th September 2024, the CCM Infrastructure, Energy and Public Works develop and submit to this House a detailed work plan for implementation of the machine-based program, probably formulated to benefit all wards in the county within the financial year. Mr. Speaker, this has also been a very big thorn in this House, that every year we allocate and appropriate money meant for machine-based. But there has been a lot of complaints as we were doing all the sector meetings and meetings with different members of the county assembly, that some of the wards don't get the services of this machine-based. And therefore we feel that for us to continue appropriating more money, there should be a detailed, Mr. Speaker, work plan for implementation, and not just by kilometers. The CC should be able to provide each name of the road to be done in each ward before we are able to allocate money for the machine-based program. Mr. Speaker, number 13, the County Public Service Board in consultation with the CCM Public Service Administration, Participatory Development and Office of the Governor to review job description of the county inspectorate officers to include safeguarding county facilities, entities and offices. The Directorate of HRM to further train and equip those officers with relevant skills and competence for deployment as security guards to protect various county public offices by 30th September 2024, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you clearly analyze the budget, there were large sums of money that was appropriated to hire private security guard. And we feel that the county government of Kisumu should be able to train their inspectorate officers to be able to take these responsibilities. And therefore, instead of hiring private guards, then we should continue hiring more inspectorate officers, train them, and then be able to take charge and guarding all these facilities that belong to the county government of Kisumu. That is also one of the recommendations of the committee, Mr. Speaker. Number 14, that the CCM Finance, Economic Planning and ICT, in collaboration with the CCM Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services, to ensure that bursary funds are procured and dispersed within the first half of the financial year to caution the students from academic interruption, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that even up to date, bursaries has not been sent to schools for some forms, either from 3, 4, 5, and I'm aware that members have really been pushing. And Mr. Speaker, even up to some level, we had to persuade members just to allow us to continue with the budget making process because they felt that the students are not getting this money, their academic calendars are being interrupted, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we insist and we also want to request the relevant sectoral committee to also sit with the relevant departments so that they work out a plan where within the first half of the year, we are able to get the total allocation for the bursaries, and maybe the remaining half to be able to do other things, Mr. Speaker. That is also a recommendation of this committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the county treasury to expand the proposed details of local development projects and replace with the revised project details contained in this report. You have annex number 6. The new list has fairly redistributed the projects in all the 35 wards and aligned them to needs and aspirations of the people of Kisumu County. The list that was provided by the department did not accommodate all the 35 wards of Kisumu County. And therefore, the list was sent back to the department so that they are able to reappropriate and ensure that each and every ward of Kisumu County gets a project from FLOCA, Mr. Speaker. And if you look at the list that has been attached here, all the 35 wards have been considered. Mr. Speaker, the governor of Kisumu to initiate a conversation with the national government through the IGTRC, the Intergovernmental Relations, to formulate proper strategies for addressing the matter of historical pending bills of accrued legal fees and court decrees originating from defunct local authorities. Mr. Speaker, we felt that some of these issues cannot be absorbed by Kisumu County alone without the intervention of the national government. And this is a conversation that can only be started by the governor, because the list that was presented by the legal office of this court decrees and legal fees was amounting to 2.1 billion. And some of them originated way back from the Fang Municipal Council, and we feel that without the help of the national government, then in future Kisumu County will not be able to do any development project, and they will be just be paying legal fees and court decrees throughout. And therefore we need the intervention of the governor and the national governor. Mr. Speaker, that by 15th July 2024, the CCM Lands, Housing, Physical Planning and Urban Development to submit to this House a detailed and comprehensive budgetary notes and work plans to justify the O&M and development expenditure allocated to various municipalities at 10 million, that is for O&M, and 5 million respectively for development. Each municipality was allocated 15 million, honorable members. And therefore, we felt that 15 million should be broken down so that we only leave 10 million for O&M and 5 million for development. And therefore, before this money is given and transferred to them, because the municipalities will be existing independently, we require detailed information of the development project that they're going to undertake with the 5 million and a written and a comprehensive breakdown of the 10 million O&M that will be given to them. Equally, Mr. Speaker, the CCM to submit a detailed work plan for implementation of KISIP projects funded at 830, outlining project specification, their location, and respective amounts. Mr. Speaker, I think it's the right of these members to know that, of course, we are appropriating 830 million for KISIP. What exactly is this money going to do, and which are the wards that are going to benefit from this money? And I also think the CCM, as he providing the information for municipalities, we also need to go a detailed plan for all these projects that will consume 830 million for KISIP. The city manager to submit to this House a comprehensive breakdown of 20 million allocated for solar lamp implementation on various streets within city, providing clear project location, descriptions, and respective amounts within 1 week for adoption of this report. There's a request by the department to change a major shift from having these electricity-based solar lamps into solar lamps. I mean solar lamp implementation along the streets. And therefore, before this money is given to the department, we need a detailed plan of which specific streets the money is going to be used, if it is Angawa, if it is Kondele, if it is Manyatabi, if it is the airport road, if it is the Manyamasaria road. We need to know the specific roads, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on financial recommendations, and if you have the merger report, that is from page 7 to page 12, based on the deliberation and putting into account the fiscal responsibility principles, the committee recommends that this House resolve. And members, I will require your keen attention on this, because now we are making the changes based on the amounts of money that have been given to different departments. One, on total revenue, that the total county revenue projection be approved, Mr. Speaker, at Kenya shillings 13 billion 748 million 975,331, in line with the revenue streams under the resource envelope presented as a second schedule of this report, Mr. Speaker. The total revenue comprises one, and members, I want your keen interest on this, an opening balance. We are still giving at zero. Of course, we will have an opening balance. The opening balance is our closing balance for this financial year. It will inform our opening balance for the next financial year. So as we speak, county has not received money. One, I know for May, either it has come or the schedule is out, and June, which we don't have. And probably any other conditional grant that the county might have received. So the lump sum of all these figures should form our opening balance, probably what the county might not have used by the end of 30th June. And therefore, up to this stage, we were still not able to substantiate how much the county is going to have in terms of their closing balances. But we believe by end of tomorrow, as we are working on the bill, we are going to have a figure. It's going to be an estimate. And I repeat, it's going to be an estimate. Because I am very sure that even after close of 30th, maybe the Treasury might still allow the county government to continue paying. So the figure that we have as a 30th might not be the definite figure. So the county might continue paying until their cut-off point, probably by July 15th. So by tomorrow, we are going to provide an estimate of probably our closing balance, which will inform our opening balance in the next financial year. Equitable share of revenue at Kenya shillings 8,485,665,357. Conditional and unconditional grants at Kenya shillings 1,566,236,874. And on-source revenue projection of 3,697,073,100. That is on what we expect to get as a county, both from the national government and what we are collecting. On the expenditure, Mr. Speaker, that the total budget estimate for the financial year 2024-25 be approved, Mr. Speaker, at Kenya shillings 13,748,975,331, and be appropriated to the various sectors, stock departments as presented in the first schedule of this report, what I read earlier. Mr. Speaker, on recurrent expenditure, that the total recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 budget estimates be approved at Kenya shillings 9,662,708,010 shillings as presented in first schedule of this report. Mr. Speaker, that the recurrent expenditure comprises one, the personnel emolument at Kenya shillings 5,469,295,446. Expenditure for operation and maintenance at Kenya shillings 4,193,412,564. Mr. Speaker, on development expenditure, that the total capital development expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 budget estimate be approved at Kenya shillings 4,086,267,321 as justified in the first schedule of this report, Mr. Speaker. Allocation for the county assembly, that the county assembly recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2024-25 be approved at Kenya shillings 827,121,358 in line with the current 2023 as presented in the third schedule of this report. But of course, if we are able to get the CARA by close of business today, then if there's any amendment, we shall make at the appropriation bill stage of an additional 170 million. On development expenditure, Mr. Speaker, that the county assembly development expenditure for the financial 2024-2025 be approved at Kenya shillings 100 million in line with the House resolution adopted during approval of the CFSP to permit completion of the ultra-modern county assembly. We know we have been getting money from the county executive for development outside our ceiling to be able to work on our assembly. And during the presentation, we are aware that some of the premises that we had leased, the lease is ending, and therefore the money is needed to be able to complete the assembly and the members are able to move. Allocation for pending bill, that the budget allocation for development pending bill be approved at 800 million Kenya shillings. I hope the correction was made, and I repeat, that the budget allocation for the development pending bill be approved at Kenya shillings 800 million. Number two, that at least, and this is very important, that at least Kenya shillings 20 million be allocated to each ward to finance implementation of development projects proposed by members of the public during validation public participation, conducted by Assembly as spread under Annex 3 of this report. There is a misconception, Mr. Speaker, that these 20 million, at least for every ward, are projects that have been submitted by members of the Assembly. That is a wrong conception. These are projects that were submitted during public participation. Members, do we agree on that? And therefore, the public consider that each and every ward to be able to get 20 million at least. But I know the projects in each and every ward is probably way above, in each and every ward above 20 million. Employment, Mr. Speaker, of 50 inspectorate officers. And I request this again, that all proposed departmental budget lines for recruitment of contracted guards be collapsed and reallocated to personnel emolument to raise funds for recruitment of 50 inspectorate officers to secure and safeguard county premises, facilities, and entities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I am requesting this House to approve Kenya shillings 25 million allocated for school feeding program to be procured as capitation transfers to ECD centers for proper utilization of the funds, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I'm requesting this House to approve Kenya shillings 20 million allocation for rehabilitation of Mamboleo Slaughterhouse be reduced to 10 million and the balance be allocated to finance other proposed departmental project priorities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I'm requesting this House to approve that 98 million allocated for machine-based program be reduced by Kenya shillings 51.5 million and the saving be used to bridge the following expenditures. Mr. Speaker, aware that the projects from members of the public during public participation had warranted an increase in the vote heads of development for the Department of Roads, and therefore there were a raft of changes that we requested as a committee to be able to accommodate all these projects from public participation. And that is why we are reducing these projects, so the machine-based by 51 million, 51.5. Again, Mr. Speaker, that the 40 million be allocated to provide partial funding for implementation of the ward-based development projects proposed by public during validation of public participation conducted by the Assembly. And allow me to explain this, honorable members. Aware that the resolution of this House is that the projects that were proposed during public participation are untouchable, because these are members of the public, and the members of the public were very particular that the projects that they proposed during public participation actually should be considered in the budget. And therefore, how do we fund this budget? One is by trying to look for money within the Department of Roads, and that is what warranted the reduction of the money for machine-based, and therefore 40 million will be used for that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, that the Kenya shillings 11.5 million be appropriated to finance the underlisted development projects. These are internal movements within the Department of Roads, and during we call them sectoral engagement, raise funds for construction of Muguru Kokere Access Road in Southwest Kisumu Ward from the proposed 3.5 million to Kenya shillings 5.5 million. Construction of Miracle Box Culvert across River Uji in Manyatabi Ward at Kenya shillings 4 million. Construction of Bungu Ring Road in Kolua East Ward at Kenya shillings 3 million. Kashem Nametsa Access Road in Northwest Kisumu at Kenya shillings 2.5 million shillings. Consideration of supplementary requests from various departments. Honorable members, we had a lot of sectoral meetings, and there were several requests by different departments. Some of them were reasonable, some of them were unreasonable, and based on our resource envelope, Mr. Speaker. So under Trade, Tourism, Industry and Marketing, I request the House to approve the request of additional Kenya shillings 11 million to its O&M budget, and for capacity building of micro and small enterprises at 1 million, and market cleaning at Kenya shillings 10 million. The department had requested over 50 million, and based on what we have in our basket, we were only able to grant them an additional 11 million. 1 million was to fund what we call capacity building of micro and small enterprises, and market cleaning at Kenya shillings 10 million. Under Department of Lands, Housing, Physical Planning and Urban Development, Mr. Speaker, I request this House to approve the request of additional Kenya shillings 20 million for development of the county spatial plan. The amount to be raised by external sourcing of Kenya shillings 9 million and internally sourcing at Kenya shillings 11 million. The department was seeking an additional 20 million for development spatial plan. So how did we raise the money? One, the department was able to raise internally by killing or collapsing other projects at 11 million and raising externally, that is meaning they were able to get an additional 9 million to make it 20. So let me read again. That the amount be raised by external sourcing of Kenya shillings 9 million and internal sourcing of 11 million. So how did they raise the 11 million? By expanding and relocating the proposed budget for purchase of land survey equipment at 3 million and planning of 8 markets at 8 million. When you are planning the market, you cannot plan the market when you don't have a special plan. So you need to start by the special plan for you to be able to plan the markets. And therefore, we start with a special plan, and then probably at supplementary on the next budget, they will be able to plan for the markets, Mr. Speaker. Further again, on the Department of Lands, approve 15 million allocated for operational activities to the respective municipalities and be rebudgeted as follows. Kenya shillings 10 million for O&M and 5 million in development. The Department of Public Service Administration, Participatory Development, Office of the Governor. Mr. Speaker, I request this House to approve Kenya shillings 68 million be sourced under the consolidated figure for P&E to provide adequate allocation for recruitment of 200 ECD teachers and 70 vocational training instructors to promote early childhood education services and improve quality training and innovation in the county, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Education was requesting employment of ECD teachers and 70 vocational training. And this 100 an additional of 68 million to the Department of Public Service, where the budget for P&B has been domiciled. And therefore, we are requesting the House to approve additional allocation for 68 million to be able to fund the recruitment of 200 ECD teachers and 70 vocational training instructors. Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Livestock Development, Irrigation, and Blue Economy. Mr. Speaker, I'm requesting the House, Mr. Speaker, to approve the request for additional Kenya shillings 3 million to its O&M, being an increment of Kenya shillings 1.65 million for motor vehicle services and 1.35 million for fuel services to effectively facilitate the newly recruited 115 extension staff in the department. And this will be able to improve service delivery and outreach to farming community of Kisumu. The department was looking for money because, Mr. Speaker, they had additional staff, 115 extension staff. So the department was looking for money for this staff to be able to move freely. And for the staff to move freely, they need money for maintenance of their vehicles, and they need more money for fuel. And therefore, we were only able to get them an additional 3 million, which has been reappropriated as 1.65 million for motor vehicle services and 1.35 million for fuel services, Mr. Speaker. Under City of Kisumu, Mr. Speaker, I request this House to approve the request for additional 6 million for completion works at Riat Market and floodlights. The amount be internally sourced by cutting the budgetary allocation for completion of social hall by 3 million, that is Kaloleni. The budgetary allocation for land survey to map out land for way leaves by 1 million, to be reduced by 1 million. Allocation for completion of abolition block at Azimio Market to be reduced by 2 million, Mr. Speaker. And if you sum all these things, you get the 6 million for completion of work at Riat Market. And I hope my brother, Honorable Koyo, will be at peace with the issue of this market once and for all, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I equally request that the House approve the proposed changes on development projects as outlined in the matrix below. Approve changes on the proposed development projects for the financial 2024-2025, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, during our sectoral engagement, during our meetings with different members, during our meetings with different CCMs, Mr. Speaker, there were a raft of requests of minor changes, be it renaming, be it moving a project within the same internal movements or movement out from one ward to the other, Mr. Speaker. There are these changes that we request the House to approve. And under Infrastructure, Energy and Public Works, Mr. Speaker, project number 5, Bonde Uluti Road at Kenya shillings 4 million, that is Central Seme, to be replaced. And the revised name is Arom DMO Owaro Access Road at 4 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, project number 68, High March Floodlight Installation at Orietiende, Kenya shillings 2 million, that is in North Kisumu, replaced with the RIAT to address the high insecurity in the area. The High March Floodlight Installation at that area at 2 million. Project number 4, Kondik Mario Access Road at Kenya shillings 4.5 million in North Seme, be renamed to read opening and marraming of Ober Ojowi Deep. Sorry, you know some of these names, but I think whatever you said is the right thing, but let me read it again. Opening and marraming of Ober Ojowi Deep Amilimbo, something like that, bridge at 4.5 million. And I can see Honorable Millicent is saying, yeah. Very well. Thank you very much. Project number 53, Kolenyo Nyalunya Access Road at Kenya shilling 3.5 million in North Seme, be renamed to read Nduru Junction, Ogona Nyalunya Access Road at 3.5 million. Project number 34, Got Ongo Nyabondo Access Road at Kenya shillings 4.5 million in Kajulu, be renamed to read Got Nyabondo, Got Ongo Access Road at Kenya shillings 4.5 million. Project number 82, installation of high match floodlight at Kajuaga Market, that is Kenya shillings 2 million in Kajulu, be renamed to read installation of high match floodlight at Kajuaga Soweto Market. The amount remained 2 million. Project number 50, Kotieno Access Road at Kenya shillings 3.5 in East Kanowawe, they be renamed to read Kotieno Magena Access Road at 3.5 million. Project number 23, off Kisii to Kochieng Jika Bridge to Odenya to Nyachoda Primary School at 4.5 million in East Kanowawe, they be renamed to read off Kadenya Nyachoda Kombembre, I don't know, Kombembre, 4.5 million. And then with the speaker, project number 62, street light at Kamagoro Center at 2 million East may be replaced to read Miranga Nyarombo Access Road. So removing it from street light to Miranga Nyarombo Access Road at 2 million, Mr. Speaker. Under the Department of Education, Technical Training and Innovation, project number 4, completion of Racheri CD lintel at 1.5 in Southeast Nyakach. The project expanded, and now we read completion of Naki ECD at 1 million. And again, the ECD does not exist. That is why the funds be reallocated to completion of Nyagweno ECD, that is at 400,000. Project number 42, construction of workshop sheds at Kandara VTC at Kenya shillings 1.5 million. They are saying the VTC does not exist and therefore replaced, and therefore the new project is construction of workshop sheds at Mariwa VTC at 1.5 million. Project number 5, improvement of Naki Kodongo Reach Access Road at 5 million in Central Nyakach, be replaced to read Kibwonjora.com Access Road at the same amount. Medical Services, Public Health and Sanitation, Mr. Speaker, project number 22, X-ray for Kombewa and Ahero County Hospital at 5 million in Ombei, project location revised, the project location revised, and the X-ray for Kombewa be placed in Central Seme Ward, while X-ray for Ahero County Hospital be placed Ahero Ward. Project number 59, completion of Masara Dispensary at Kenya shillings 2 million. The dispensary does not exist in Ombei. Expunged and substituted to read construction of Kango Dispensary Abolition Block and fencing at 2 million. Project number 25, completion of Central Nyakach Dispensary at Kenya shillings 3 million. The dispensary is non-existent again in Central Nyakach. Expunged and substituted to completion of Kodung Dispensary at the same amount, 3 million. Project number 23, fencing of Rota Health Center at Kenya shillings 1.2 in Southwest Kisumu be replaced to read construction of abolition block at Rota Health Center at the same amount, 1.2 million. Department of Water, Environment, Natural Resource, Mr. Speaker, project number 27, pipeline extension water supply in Bukna and Ongadi area at 3 million in Kajuli would be replaced to read drilling of boreholes, laying pipes with hybrid solar and 10,000 liter water tank at Mamboleo at the same amount, 3 million. Under agriculture, fisheries, livestock and development and irrigation, Mr. Speaker, construction of Nanga fish banda at 2 million in Itse may be replaced to read supply of certified maize seeds at 2 million Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these are the changes that we did encounter during different sectoral, and I do request the House to approve these changes if they confide or match with the request that had been made. Mr. Speaker, on the recommendations, we request this House to approve the report and recommendation of the County Budget and Appropriation Committee on the budget estimates for the County Executive and the County Assembly for the financial year 2024-2025, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I make the final submission, I had a lot of requests from most of the members that just briefly we go through what we call in maybe 5 minutes, the ward-based projects which we have annexed and is in the main report. If you have the main report, it starts from page, it's annex 3. I don't know if this report is paged, but if you look at annex 3, we start with the North Seme. And Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, just very briefly, so that we ensure that what we did say that the projects from the public participation will remain as they were during all our deliberations. If you look at North Seme, Mr. Speaker, we've captured the projects as was requested. And we have under agriculture provision of water North Seme, 1 million medical services, completion of Onyinyo maternity at 3.5, Mr. Speaker, all the way to lands where the survey and opening of Ring Road at Kipasi Market at 700,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to Central Seme, again, Mr. Speaker, we have replaned the projects as was requested during public participation. And if you look at infrastructure, we have opening grading culvert of Kombewa Richo School Access Road, improvement of Nambakosea, Konya Korumba Access Road, Mr. Speaker, all the way to education where we have completion of Mirieri ECD, Mr. Speaker, water, environment and natural resources drilling and equipping of Okori Primary School, Mr. Speaker, at 2.4. Same, Mr. Speaker, to East Seme, where we've equally tried to capture the aspirations of members of the public over the same projects that they requested, Mr. Speaker, and all the way from infrastructure, energy, from opening of Magwar, Miyundi Road, Mr. Speaker, all the way to trade, where they end with supply of solar lights at 2 million. West Seme, Mr. Speaker, the same. We have captured the projects as was requested by members of the public. Under infrastructure, energy, we have Kitambo Kona, Kali Access Road, Mr. Speaker, and therefore I have to confirm to the members that you can check the projects one by one. Nothing has been expunged, and therefore we have taken care of the interest of all the members of the public. And therefore, if you got the assurance as the chair, we don't have to go through all of them one by one, but we have assured the capturing of all of this, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, for us to be able to ensure that these projects were funded fully, because when the budget came to the House, we had a fully balanced budget from the executive. But because the laws allow us to approve the budget on behalf of the County of Kisumu, we had to make a raft of recommendations, one of them being the capturing of the projects from members of the public. So how are we able to fund these projects? One, that is what warranted the reduction of the amount that was allocated for pending bill from 1 billion to 800,000. That is also what warranted the reduction of the money that was given to machine-based. That is what warranted the expunging of money that was meant for purchase of machineries, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we made a raft of changes to be able to accommodate all these projects. And the successful news we can report is that all the projects have been captured the way they should appear, and that is why we've annexed the list and we've attached it in the report to ensure that nothing happens after this. And I'm very sure that we have the majority leader that works together with the executive, and they will be able to ensure that when we are uploading the budget, the list should also remain the same as it is, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, basis of the county appropriation bill, I request the House to approve the first schedule of this report from the basis of financial year 2024-2025 appropriation bill, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, it is therefore my pleasant undertaking on behalf of the County Budget and Appropriation Committee to table this report in this House and recommend it for adoption, Mr. Speaker. I therefore move the motion and call upon Honorable Sethu Kumu to second. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as my very able chair resumes his seat, I rise to second the adoption of this report by Budget and Appropriation Committee. Honorable Speaker, as my chair has mentioned, that these are estimates of revenue and expenditure. So we are estimating both revenue and how we are going to spend that revenue. Honorable Speaker, I need to emphasize on this based on the discussion we had today with my very good friend, the Honorable Regina Kizito. Honorable members, for us to spend money, we must know where it's coming from. We are getting money from the exchequer, we are getting money from donors, and we are raising money as the county government as on-source revenue. We have several streams that we have proposed in this report to help us in getting on-source revenue. And as my chair said, that some of those streams send money direct to the county revenue fund. Once the money gets there, then it can be spent on all those expenditures that we want in these estimates. So unless some of those revenues are ring-fenced, then any department can access the money in the revenue fund. And I think that was the biggest discussion we're having this morning on cess. When cess is collected, because we don't have an act, and the chair has mentioned very well that for us to spend this money strictly on roads as envisaged, then we need to move with speed as we are implementing these estimates, that we have an act to help us ring-fence cess money to be used on roads. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank my chair and the committee for agreeing that ECD feeding program estimates need to be sent to our ECD schools as capitation. Honorable Speaker, this will really minimize the losses we are having, not deliberately, but out of procedure. The 25 million that we appropriate for our ECDs for feeding program, if we do procurement for those kind of foods, then the person who is getting this business has to make profit. There are taxes that he has to pay. And you realize that of 25 million, the actual monies we send to schools worth of feeds may be around 15 million at most. 10 million will go to things that are related to feeding program, taxes and profits of these people. So I want to agree with my chair, and where I'm imploring on members that we support this report to help us in developing estimates that will meet the needs of our people. Honorable Speaker, I'm seconding this report because the way the chair has brought the issue of machine-based in making our roads. We have for some time been implementing machine-based, and out of those experiences, we've agreed that the monies for machine-based should only be used for opening and grading of roads. That means the monies that we are appropriating should directly go for procuring of fuel for our graders and our excavators, Honorable Speaker. We have realized that we used to have some monies for maram and culverting, but still they were contracting this money. So there is no different from what we are running away from. If they're still contracting with this money, then we'd rather keep this money and then contract the maraming and culverting of these roads as we do with any other monies that we're having. So, honorable members, the monies that we are appropriating for machine-based is strictly for fuel for our excavators and graders, and should only be used for opening of roads at best. Honorable Speaker, we had suggested as a budget committee that we have a challenge with the construction of our ECDs. The cost that is required by those who are doing procurement exceeds what most of us have been appropriating given the limited resources that we are having. We had suggested, like we are doing with ECD feeding program, that the monies for construction of ECDs can also be sent to these ECDs as capitation, and then they can do construction of these ECDs using labor-based. It's something that we intend the department to pilot, and will inform members which wards will pilot with. Other members, I want to thank the committee for agreeing that apart from construction of ECDs, what is most important is our kids need teachers in these ECD institutions. I have said this over and again, and I want to applaud my brother Honorable Mumba has been mentioning this. And I want to thank this house that we always approve 205 million for bursaries. And these bursaries majorly go for secondary schools and tertiary institutions. But we tend to forget that the role that was given to counties in the Constitution 2010 was on VTCs and ECDs. And that has made us forget that our ECDs really needed teachers. We had pleaded over and again, but now it's been agreed that for 68 million, we are going to have 200 teachers and 70 instructors. Honorable Speaker, these 200 teachers will make sure that the 681 schools that we are having in Kisumu County will have at least one teacher that is employed by the county government of Kisumu. I want to bring to your attention that, for example, in Nyakach sub-county, we have close to 72 schools that do not have teachers employed by the county government of Kisumu. In Seme, we have close to 42 schools that do not have teachers employed by the county government of Kisumu. In fact, out of all the sub-counties, it's only in Kisumu Central and Kisumu East that have all their ECDs with at least one teacher that is employed by the county government of Kisumu. We don't want to be biased to other sub-counties like Kisumu West and Nyando, and that's why we are requesting that this House approve these estimates as proposed by the committee so that we can have 200 teachers and 70 instructors for our institutions. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the chair again that we are privileged as a county that we get assistance from KISIP. And it's not small monies. It's 830 million. And without knowing how this money is spread across the different wards within the city, we might be unfair to other wards in other issues of sharing of revenue that we are going to raise. If we can know the exact list of how the 830 million is shared amongst the wards in Kisumu, then we can know what other wards are missing, and then we can balance that with the revenue that we are raising as Kisumu County government. Honorable member, I know the honorable member for Manyata will always complain because she's having close to 8 roads that are being tarmacked. And yet Honorable Boyton's ward, which is also in the city, I'm not sure why it's not having even a single road that I've seen being mentioned. But if that can be clear, we cannot have things shrouded in mystery. Because some people think that if it's done that way, then they benefit more than others. Even if you are getting all the 830 million in one ward, we need to know and we appreciate. And then we plan for those other wards that do not get anything. So, honorable members, with those very many remarks, I second this adoption of this report, Mr. Speaker, and I implore on members to also adopt the report. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, now that a motion adoption of a report on the Budget and Appropriation Committee on consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term have been moved by the Chair of Budget and Appropriations, seconded. As per our standing order, I want to propose a question. And I propose that the motion adoption of a report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term is open for debate. Honorable members, as I do propose that question, I want to refer ourselves to page 162 of the order paper. And in that page there is a notice. It's a notice paper for tentative business for the Thursday, 26th June 2024. Published pursuant to orders number 36-1. And I read that it notified to the Select Committee on Assembly as at its last meeting approved the following tentative business to appear in order paper for Thursday, 27th June 2024 at 2:30 p.m. And you have seen refer to page 161, refer to page 161 on the notice on limitation of debate. Honorable members, pardon, that you referred to 161, not 162. And that the House resolved on Wednesday, 21st February 2024 as follows. That pursuant to the provision of orders number 95.1 of the standing orders, this assembly orders that each speech in a debate on a report of a committee, senate paper, or any other report submitted to the assembly be limited as follows. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 5 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes. And that the priority be accorded to the leader of majority party in that order. So what I'm trying to raise is that wherever you stand, kindly note that we'll give you 5 minutes. So try to ensure that all your statements are within 5 minutes, except for the case of the leader of majority. So, Honorable Vincent Jagongo, I had noticed you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to thank the Committee of Budget for a job well done. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say the following. Mr. Speaker, one, under lands, urban development and physical planning, I want to thank the recommendation for having 15 million to support in the management of the municipalities, the 5 municipalities that we have. Mr. Speaker, the municipalities were gazetted in last year, October. And from last year, October, to this year, June, nothing is going on under those municipalities. The reason being, they don't have money to manage the municipalities. They don't have money for their meetings, they don't have money for development, and they don't have money even to pay staff that are work with them within those municipalities. So I want to thank the 15 million that will go to this municipality to enable them do some small work within those municipalities. Mr. Speaker, under education, the VTC instructors and the ECD teachers were last employed in this county in 2015. If you look at 2015 to now, we have like 9 years. So for the last 9 years, the county government has never employed any VCT instructor or ECD teacher. So I want to say that the number that is going to be employed, the 200 for the ECD teachers and the 70 for the instructors, will help us a long way in ensuring that our ECD pupils get quality education. But Mr. Speaker, I just want to remind the county that when they will be employing these VTC instructors and the ECD teachers, let it have the face of Kisumu County. There should not be this issue where you find when employment are done in Kisumu County, there's only 2 or 1 sub-county that are considered for employment. Let the VCT teachers, if possible, let them come from the wards that they're going to work in. If it is 2 per ward, let that one be seen, so that we be fair to Kisumu County as a whole. Mr. Speaker, I also want to, under health, I want to thank the department for allocating 165 million that will go to the health department to support in completion and handling the stall projects within our wards. That is the health centers and the dispensaries that are going to be built with this 165 million for development. I'm hoping that we need to finish with constructions of these dispensaries and also health centers so that we can have nurses and clinicians working in those hospitals to support our people at the grassroots level. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the department, and I know the department will have to work extra hard to get money because almost 800 million is expected to come from the FIF. And they're supposed to collect this money from the hospitals and use them under FIF in this 1.2 billion that they have been given as allocation to the department for O&M. I believe the hospital will work smart to ensure that they collect this money so that this money can be used to support the hospitals. If they don't collect this money, Mr. Speaker, we'll have several strikes in this county. Because there will be no drugs, there will be no non-pharmaceuticals, there will be no a few things that are used in the hospitals, paying the electricity and all that. Because that money has been left to the hospital to look for how they can collect money and use the money within the hospitals. So we are hoping that the mechanism that the county government is going to put in place will help collect money to support these facilities to run on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, I stand to support the adoption of this report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for being on time. Honorable Nerea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also stand to support this report. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this particular estimate was consultative and was done adequately. And Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that almost all interests were covered and considered in this report. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that Honorable Seth, who is the Deputy Chair Budget Committee, talks of some wards being major beneficiaries of a single donor fund called KISIP. And Mr. Speaker, I don't see why the implementation of KISIP Phase 2 is drawing a lot of attention when KISIP is a journey that started way back in 2014. And Mr. Speaker, KISIP Phase 1 was implemented in the second regime. I don't know why such questions did not arise, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, wards like Manyatabi have, I can say, have denied themselves to help this county sort pending bills. For instance, Mr. Speaker, the financial year 2022-2023, Manyatabi ended up with zero development. Manyatabi was sacrificed to pay pending bills when East Seme got all their developments. Mr. Speaker, Manyatabi has not benefited from any flagship project. Wards like East Seme are the biggest beneficiaries of the county's flagship projects, Namba Kapio, which has so far received over 200 million, just a single project, excluding the construction of ward offices being one of them. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't see why members should feel jealous of other wards getting just the same kind of development that their wards have benefited from. So, Mr. Speaker, and we know, Mr. Speaker, that East Seme, rural wards like East Seme, for example, are the biggest beneficiaries of the machine-based program, which city wards rarely benefit from. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to urge that honorable members let us be considerate of wards that have been sacrificed to give services to other parts of the county, Manyatabi being one of them. I want to confirm that Manyatabi is benefiting from 475 million of the Phase 2 KISIP allocation. But, Mr. Speaker, there are, I don't want to say, Mr. Speaker, it is true we are benefiting, but it is not it is not a favor being done to residents of Manyatabi, because they also deserve what other wards have benefited from. It is not Manyatabi benefiting from KISIP, so many other wards are benefiting. So let us just embrace each other and support all our wards, because in this assembly, we are here for the entire county, not single individual wards like East Seme. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for being on time, Honorable Ruben Rak, East Kolwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this chance also to add my voice on this budget and appropriation report. Mine is very simple. I just want to support. I don't want to reply as my sister, Honorable Nerea, because I think reply is only reserved for the mover of the motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
What is it, Honorable Nerea?
Mr. Speaker, understanding order number 89. I don't see, can the speaker on the floor actually substantiate if my contribution was a reply or just a contribution on my own part?
Honorable Rakwash.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I think she was replying contribution that was made by Honorable Kisumu, the MCA for East Seme. I wish to proceed, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support this report because it touches on ward-based project. These are projects that were prioritized by our electorate and they are at the center of their interest. So if this report states that they are going to be considered, I think it is something which is worth supporting because its implementation will go a long way with improving the livelihoods of our people. At the same time, today we are going to approve because going by the mood, I see it being adopted. It is a budget of nearly 14 billion. This is the money which we are approving today for the executive to implement. It is a lot of money, and to whom so much is given, so much is expected. So what we want to see is timely implementation of these projects so that we don't have a lot of pending bills. It pains me because every year we talk of pending bill, and there is always a proposal from the Treasury that we give a pending bill for more than a billion. And I know what contributes to this accumulation of pending bill is late procurement of projects. So if by September 30th we can have a procurement plan, then I know by December all the projects shall have been procured and the contractors will be on the sites, Honorable Speaker. I want to implore on the executive, the departments that are going to implement this project, because we have the report. We know the project, they know the projects that they are going to implement. Let them start developing the BQs like immediately, such that by the time the budget book is out, it is only the procurement that they will be doing, so that they don't tell the honorable members that they are still developing the BQs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as of the bursary, we are approving 205 million for bursary. And remember, to date, we approved 205 million last year at a time like this. To date, it has not been paid, and the children were at home. So, Honorable Speaker, it is meaningless for us to approve 205 million today for bursaries, and then next year, time like this, the bursary shall have not been paid. I really implore the executive to ensure that by February, by the time the bursary committees award the bursary to the beneficiaries, the money is there at the education fund account,
so that the bursary can be paid on time, Honorable Speaker. On Floka, Honorable Speaker, I really implore the Department of Water to avoid use of a lot of literature. Some of the project titles were very difficult for even the members of the committee to understand, because there was even a title integrated degraded land restoration and management. So if it is land reclamation, let it just be land reclamation and the mechanism which is going to be used to reclaim that land, other than the use of this deep literature, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support this report. Thank you.
Honorable Karen. The Honorable Samuel Dede. Senator, can you ensure that all the microphones are working?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me as a senior member to my colleagues. I think you are working with the criteria of being seniority. Mr. Speaker, it's good that the appropriation has been brought on time. Being that the appropriations were made at the correct time, I've got difficulties on how the projects were appropriated. Being that in Kisumu County we have 35 wards, and there was no equal distribution of projects within the ward that were located. We find that in some wards there are allocations of 20 million, like the Kisumu North Ward where I reside from, and other wards go as far as getting 28, 30. I don't know the criteria they were using to allocate for the resources. Secondly, concerning the Mr. Speaker, sir, concerning the pending bill on the page 19, Mr. Speaker, concerning the pending bill on page 19, we find that there is a allocation of 1.899 billion, which has been left. 1 billion has been allocated for the pending bill, whereby if we calculate clearly, we find that the pending bills are not clearly verified. It seems the payment of verified pending bills, they would have brought for us that such amount are to be paid for such a project. And if we calculate well, other major expenditures which has been created, if you add them, they brings about 270 million. So it would have been prudent that the state other projects which were to be done with the money. Concerning the allocation of the money in the under city, Mr. Speaker, sir, I find that under city the allocation of 301 million, which includes 30 million for the completion of the Kalensha Mall and the 20 million for the completion of the bridges and 20, we find that the 301 million, if well calculated, we find that the only 70 has been clarification has been brought considering the statement brought here. Mr. Speaker, sir, being that education is more prudent, it's good we've seen that the 200 ECD teachers are going to be employed, and the 70 VCT instructors also going to be employed. It would be prudent, Mr. Speaker, sir, that while distributing the ECD teachers, may they consider regions where the ECD teachers come from, not that they come from one region, which is probably, if I don't mention, it's clearly known by members. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we proceed with the budget, Being that we've received all the information containing the projects which were done, there is a project which captures my ward. There was poor caption, whereby there was a road called Kombok-Obede, Teti Junction, which has been indicated wrongly. So while they'll be preparing, they should change the naming. They should at least write it well. Should be Kombok-Obede, not Komboko. That might come to a wrong capturing. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, if given time and the procurement takes place on time as early as January, then the implementation be followed, I think we'll be in a better position to steer out the Kisumu County. Otherwise, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable James Omolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for this chance. I want to thank the budget chair. At least this budget was very consultative, and we can see our ward-based projects are there intact, and we hope they will be there until the last day that the implementation period will be over. Mr. Speaker, I'm really grateful that we will be having capitation to schools other than buying the food stuff and delivering to our schools. I think this has been abused, and even the procurement procedures has been really long. It is the only way to go for us to manage the schools well with the ECD center managers. Mr. Speaker, I'm also very grateful about recruitment of 200 extra ECD teachers. It is very good. I come from a sub-county where we have almost 100 plus ECD centers. But as we speak, quite a number have no single teacher. Like in my ward, I have 28 ECD centers. We only have 20 ECD teachers. And you can imagine, the rest don't have even a single teacher. Mr. Speaker, this one came about in the year 2015 when the ECD teachers were being recruited. They were distributed per ward. Even if a ward has 2 ECD centers, they were given 20 ECD teachers. This was a very big mistake. Yes, it happened. I was in this house. That is how it happened, and it really made other sub-counties or other wards which had a big number to lose out. So you could find a school having 4 or 5 teachers because that ward has only very few centers. So this will really be an equalizer, that at least we are sure that each school in this county, over almost 700 of the ECD centers will have now at least 1 teacher. So for the ones which are so big, you go to some of the ECD centers in this county, in the city, they are so big that they would need extra 1 or 2, 3. That is given. I think that is very important. The department will do that. Mr. Speaker, the KRB projects, just the same way they have done with the FLOCA projects, the KRB is very skewed. Mr. Speaker, we have 10 projects in Nyakach, but none is in West Nyakach. I don't know why someone somewhere could sit and do that to a ward. And it is not fair because all the public participation reports come to the departments, and when they are allocating like 600 or 400 million, they have to consider each and every ward fairly enough. I think it is not fair because right now West Nyakach has 0 road, and that is not fair. When we are having a cake, just the same way you did with the FLOCA, the budget chair, I thank you guys in Mombasa. You have to task the department to be fair to all the wards, 35 of them. I think you would have done the same with the KRB projects. I won't be talking like that now, but I think we are still in the process that can be rectified. Mr. Speaker, on bursaries, Mr. Speaker, it is very sad that even as we speak, our children have not gotten their allocated monies to the schools. It is very sad. I'm very sad about that. Mr. Speaker, I'm one of the champions of bursaries and scholarship. In the year 2014, I moved a motion in this house, and it became a law, and now we have the bursary and scholarship fund. Up to now, we cannot even talk in funerals. We can't. We are really saddened that we are allocating another 205 again. It will go until July or 15th of June next year before it is remitted. Mr. Speaker, I would urge the Department of Finance to be giving this a priority so that this fund account be funded as early as December, so that by January, our kids who have been called to high schools, colleges, they have money to go to school. That will really be a big plus to us. Mr. Speaker, about KISI project, I don't see anything wrong with our award benefiting from it. I think that one, for the donor funding, I think it is really not fair for us to come to that level. Even right now, if a donor comes to Sondu Miriu to do some big project for 100 billion, is it necessary to discuss it to be taken to SEM? So I think my brother was very unfair to the KISIP guys. So let us just be brothers keeper and sisters keeper. If something is going somewhere, let us be happy for her or for him. And that is the mood we should have all the time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on procurement plan, Mr. Speaker,
your time is
you find that...
Honorable James Omolo, 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute, you can conclude.
Taarifa, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
What is it, Honorable Seth? I had given you time, you had contributed.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to give information to the honorable member on the floor and the House.
Honorable James Omolo, do you want to be...
Thank you, honorable member.
So it's overtaken by events, Honorable Seth.
Honorable member, it's a very important information.
There is no member on the floor, Honorable Seth. Honorable Lumumba Wade, the Deputy Leader Majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report of the bill. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I thank the Committee of Budget and Appropriation for the midnight oil that they burned to bring us an elaborate finance bill. I also congratulate myself for being part of that team. Mr. Speaker, I'd like also to support and echo what Honorable Jagongo had mentioned here to do with the employment of ECD teachers. It makes some sense, Mr. Speaker, to employ a local within his or her own area. It makes economic sense for one to live and work within the area where he or she is living. So this is something that we should embrace as members and ensure that it is undertaken. Mr. Speaker, on education, I do applaud the department to have considered each and every ward for at least one ECD construction. That came from the department. However, that is not enough. We are going to employ about 200. Some of us may not be able to accommodate all the staff. I therefore urge our fellow members that in the ward development, at least give priority also to ECD's large construction. ECD is the basis, it is the foundation that if we do not give it a priority, we will be climbing the tree from the top. I know if you were not to apportion some money for bursaries and scholarships, we would be done by ECDs. But equally important, that bursary is also helping us more so the elected leaders to caution the unfortunate families that are unable to pay school fees. It is applaud to the department and members for accepting a certain portion of allocation to go for bursary, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, much as we have projects being appropriated for in our wards, I would urge, Mr. Speaker, that the engineers, those who are supervising our projects in the wards, to cooperate with members so that they give us or assess early enough the project costs and give us accurate or near accurate BOQ. Mr. Speaker, lack of this has always brought us back every time and again. You find a project is done more than 3 or 4 financial years, one project. Mr. Speaker, if this is done properly by our experts, we will be doing one project and complete it within 1 financial year. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
James Were, the Honorable Millicent will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the report. Mr. Speaker, considering that the 2024-2025 budget was a big document, Mr. Speaker, we must commend the committee for having toiled, burned the midnight oil to ensure that we have a precise report. Mr. Speaker, I just want to react on a few things. Mr. Speaker, we've seen that more allocations has been done to the machine-based. Mr. Speaker, I would request that this time the Department of Infrastructure and Roads ensure that there is evenly distribution of projects in various wards. We want to see projects done across the entire wards within this county. We don't want to see machine base being utilized in maybe 1 or 2 wards, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on FLOCA, let us ensure that the FLOCA projects are implemented in good time so that we don't have a rush. Mr. Speaker, on provision and employment of more VTC and instructors and ECD teachers, Mr. Speaker, this is a plus, and this is going to bridge the gap in our ECD schools and in our VTC institutions. Mr. Speaker, on flagship projects, Mr. Speaker, let us ensure that we have flagship projects done across all sub-counties, not only one sub-county. Mr. Speaker, on pending bills, Mr. Speaker, I can remember 2022-2023, there was a proposal that we had to forgo putting of more projects that we could enable the executive to pay pending bills. Mr. Speaker, I think it is in order for the executive to ensure that the assembly is briefed on how far they've gone with the pending bills, how much they've paid, and what they still owe to pay. Mr. Speaker, on projects allocation, departmental allocations, Mr. Speaker, you find that there is skewed allocation in different departments. Mr. Speaker, putting projects in different departments should not be determined by where the CEC come from. It should not be determined whether I am the chair there should be evenly distribution of projects across all the departments. Mr. Speaker, on bursaries and scholarship, Mr. Speaker, 2 days ago we were on radio, and most of the callers were concerned about bursaries. And so, right now, if you go through our social media networks, you'll find that people are putting us on notice. I've just seen some comments. Mr. Speaker, we must ensure that bursaries are sent to school. Otherwise, that will be our downfall. Mr. Speaker, on BQs, let us ensure that BQs are done on time. And Mr. Speaker, our engineers who are tasked with doing the BQs should go to ground so that they do what is required of them. Some normally sit in their offices doing the BQs without coming to the ground. When the contractors are taking the challenge of implementing these projects, Mr. Speaker, it becomes a challenge. Maybe the money that is allocated is far much less than what is required to do a task. Mr. Speaker, I would therefore beg to support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also standing to support the report and congratulating my colleagues for the job well done. I want to echo what other members have talked about the recruitment of ECD teachers. Apart from considering where the teachers come from, currently you'll find that the ECDs are operational, and in most cases we have teachers who are almost doing volunteering work. I will just wish or suggest that when doing the recruitment, let us also consider these who are doing the volunteering work, so that we don't bring new people and leaving somebody who has been working in that school for more than even 5 years. And on issue of doing the BQs, like me, I am a victim. I have a project that was done a BQ. The same engineer who did the BQ, when coming to hand over the project to the contractor, she was also saying that that money was not enough. So it's my request, just the way Honorable said, Honorable Wera said, let the contractors go to the site and confirm the level of or status of these projects, and more so the projects that are supposed to be completed, so that they do the right BQ. I'm going to sit, and I'm saying that I'm supporting the report. Thank you.
Now that a lady from Semi has spoken, let me be biased and give Honorable Kumudo, because I've not heard anybody from Moroni. Yeah. Okay.
Many thanks, Honorable Speaker, and also to my colleagues. This afternoon, I'm privileged as I rise to support the very good report presented by the very capable committee of very capable members, the Committee on Budget and Appropriations. I will be very fast to utilize my 5 minutes allocation, and I've got bullet points as listed below. Number 1 goes to municipality allocations. Honorable Speaker, this is a wonderful thing. This is well captured in the report. I, representing Moroni Kuru Ward, represent one of the municipalities. And I want to say that since the creation of the municipality, it came with a lot of excitement. We are now going to see the results for the first time. Even the amount may not be as much, but I want to believe the allocation of the 15 million per municipality would make the center, the pathetic center of the Moroni Core Ward, the Moroni town or the Moroni municipality itself look as a modern, at least some modernity being brought into place. It is now upon us leaders within these municipalities to liaise with the relevant municipality boards so that this amount is utilized accordingly to bring up the standards of the municipality. And I particularly, representing Moroni Core Ward, I would actually have an avenue to sitting with the boards so that we get to see the improvement based on the little or much revenue which has been given from the coffers. Secondly, I talk about the ECD section and all the allocations which have been done in good faith. Indeed, when you walk across, and I also speak as a vice chair of the very well capable committee on education, that indeed this is a very timely thing done at the right time, and especially with the inclusion of the 200 teachers. This is a milestone. Like my colleagues have said, let priorities be given to those who have been volunteering for quite a long time within centers without bringing total strangers, as this would really demoralize everybody, including the existing volunteers. Number 3 is also captured on the very hot debate that we had yesterday on the SES management. My polite request, even as we do what we can do, coming from the areas whereby the SES is heavily collected, I think it is time that the department should be very serious with the so-called SES and probably remove this and ring-fence it, like my colleague, my senior colleague mentioned. Let us reference these funds coming from the SES so that the people who produce, the producers, may actually also benefit from the same. I say this because today we have nothing. In the sugarcane growing sector, we have got nothing to show completely, despite the heavy sales revenue that we project to the county government. The allocations of to the world development, indeed this is a good thing, and like properly explained by the chair on budget and appropriations committee, that all the allocations to world development shall be taken care of. Yes, indeed, this is important, but let it not be a proper language, well systemized and captured. We want to see the real developments being done, not the shoddy contract works. As we speak, they are lined up for payments. Some even never completed these things, but you'll be surprised the fines are being finalized for payments. We need proper projects done and things that we could be seen, things that shall remain in place. Finally, second last, about this bursary allocation. Again, we are walking into July. These people haven't realized anything. Like my colleague said, it becomes pathetic. We don't attend burials very easily these days. We don't attend even weddings these days. Any moment you rise up, people will shout at you aimlessly because of what is beyond us. Can't these things be taken care of so that we have the courage to face back our electorate? And finally, on the Kisumu projects, I happen to be a beneficiary in the Moroni Core Ward. I don't know. There's much wrangling of the guys in the city here, my colleagues in the city. I am yet to see the projects. We are waiting for the launch period. The launch we did. We are waiting to see the actual so that I may be able to support. Very good report. Many thanks, Honorable Speaker, and I support the report.
Honorable Leader of Majority.
There is no standing order that says that I talk last. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to contribute. First and foremost, I want to thank the Budget Committee for the long journey they have taken with this budget process for us to reach this stage. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by an item that has not been contributed by any member. That is the extra allocation that was received by the Assembly, the 170 million. for the furnishment of the new assembly that is under construction. I want to thank sincerely the Speaker and the Clerk that engaged the Senate so that we get this extra funding. It is not easy, but with the good progress we managed to get the 170 million. So I have to thank the office and the office of the Clerk. Secondly, Speaker, this report has made me realize that some members are doing good work, like Honorable Sethu Kumu, as was mentioned by Honorable Nerea. I think that's a plus on the side of Honorable Seth. At least it's coming out from this report that some good work is being done. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about education, and I want to request members to be very keen, because we are lamenting but we are not providing solution. Honorable Speaker, we have had problem with bursary, but I want to inform members that requisition has been done to control budget for bursary this week. So hopefully next week we'll have bursary in our school. But I want to suggest to the Chair of Finance and Chair Education that we should invite the two departments for discussion. And this is my suggestion, that any time of the month that the county receives allocation, a given amount should be taken to the bursary account so that the bursary can be paid on quarterly basis. Third, Honorable Speaker, on the feeding program, I support the capitation. Let the money be sent directly to our schools. I think this one will reduce the bureaucracies that is normally there that eat a lot of money. On the issue of the ECD teachers and the instructors, I support. But I've done an average 200 teachers divided by 35 wards, that is 5 per ward. I think ECD teachers and instructors are transferable. So there is no need of one area taking a huge number of these teachers and instructors. We should spread it. If it is 5 per ward, let ECD teachers be recruited 5 from each ward, so that at least all our wards receive equal number of ECD teachers, so that we don't have any cry from any quarter. Honorable Speaker, on procurement plan, I want to support the budget committee by coming up that the procurement plans would reach this assembly by 30th September, and end on January 2025. If any contract has not gone to site, let that contract be terminated. And I think this, I want to request the Committee of Implementation to take note of this, so that we make sure that the contractors go to site on time. Honorable Speaker, I want to request the Chair budget. There is an item that is not clear to us. The 150 million that's allocated for stadium. I think when you are replying, kindly tell us where is it domiciled, which department, so that we know, for us to do the oversight. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I've been in this process. I fully support. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for considering me. I've been standing, sitting, standing, sitting. Now I'm standing. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the committee on their report of the various programs for different departments. I say yes, I support it. Of course, with a few reservations here and there. I want to look at the area of education, just like my colleagues have said. Then when it comes to employing of the ECD teachers, Mr. Speaker, if it can be considered from the ward level, so that we do not have one ward employing 50 teachers, another ward is left with maybe 1 or 2. If there could be equity when it comes to employment, we would appreciate. And apart from the education, Mr. Speaker, I also want to, let me not repeat the issue of bursary, because last week Majority Leader promised that in 1 week's time, the bursaries will be distributed. Today again, is still promising that in another week's time, not forgetting that 1 week is very fast. By next week, I don't know whether he'll also talk of 1 week. So we hope by the next 1 week, the issue of bursaries will be sorted out. On the issue of education, when it comes to the projects, Mr. Speaker, this financial year, most of our wards that had allocated money for the ECDs, most ECDs were not done this financial year. The main problem of this thing was about the BQs. BQs cuts across from the ECD classrooms to the roads, to the health department and all the departments. I think the BQs, like now we are passing a budget, Mr. Speaker. Already the money is allocated. Yet we expect the department to come up with the BQs when already someone has already written that construction of a classroom would cost 2 million. You expect the classroom to be completed with 2 million, and at the end of it all, the BQ has not been done, yet the money has already been allocated. So we'll still have a lot of issues when it comes to BQ that we need, just like one of the honorables suggested that finance and education department should come together and sort it out. So I also suggest that finance and the Department of Roads and all those departments, we need to sit down with them so that we sort the issues of the BQs. Because as we said, most projects were not done because of the BQs that were either lowered, the prices were quite low. On the issue of machine-based, Mr. Speaker, just like we said last time, that if this machine-based, you still allocate money for machine-based, and there's no proper work plan, we will still see programs like FinRolls being given allocation with money for machine-based. So if this house is not serious about machine-based, that we keep allocating money, and when you call the department to come and explain how machine-based has been used, there was no proper explanation this financial year. And it has just gone like that. The money that was allocated, the roads were not done under machine-based, that is gone. Now we are starting again. In that area, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a little bit disappointing. Otherwise, I do not want to keep repeating what others have said, but on FLOCA projects, some have not yet started. Yet we've been told that by September, the project should have been done. We are in the month of June ending, July and August remaining, yet no work has been started. The projects under FLOCA, BQs have not been done. So if we are not careful again, we may not beat the time for FLOCA projects. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support. Thank you.
Honorable Billy, being the only independent guy in the house.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for acknowledging that I've been standing for since we started this debate. I've been up and down, but I'm now happy that I've been given this opportunity to at least air my views on the same. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report, but of course with a few reservations, because Mr. Speaker, if we look at history, we are coming from a system where we only had one parliament, and now we have the devolution, which will be helping our people. If you look at the report, which I'm very thankful for the Committee of Budget for having a good report, you realize that in everything that we have in this budget, development is getting a small amount of money. Mr. Speaker, I was looking at agriculture and I was looking at trade. And again, I looked at the amount of money we are allocating for the Department of Medical Services. You realize that in agriculture, where development should be done, a lot of it, where we should be getting a lot of food, where our people from Kisumu County can get massive employment, and also in trade, where we can give our people of Kisumu County enough allocations to ensure that they at least have investments and maybe improve on their businesses, you realize that we've given too much for health, but then we've forgotten agriculture and trade. And I know for sure if we forget agriculture and trade, we are not going to have enough food. And that will translate into many people visiting the hospitals. So I think as Kisumu County, we should concentrate a lot on empowering our people so that having empowered them, they'll have food, they'll have good health, and a small population will be visiting the hospital. Mr. Speaker, looking at education, till now we don't have the bursaries. If you go to awards, many people think that it is the MCA who gives out the bursaries. And even now, if you look at the ground, they are becoming hostile because they feel that it is the MCA who has refused to give money. So as we pass this budget, I want to believe that the committee should recommend that in the next allocations, the money that is given to the counties, priority should be given to bursaries. And again, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the county government because this time we are focused on employing more teachers and more tutors. It is sad what we've been having in this county because you realize that in all the ECDs, we don't have many teachers employed, and we've ended up having more volunteers in our institutions and not having people employed from the county government. I'm asking this assembly, after we've passed this, we should give priority to those who have been volunteering. We have people who have even volunteered for around 2 years. So the board that is doing the employment this time should visit all the schools in Kisumu County and ensure that those who have been volunteering and should also look at the period that they've been serving so that they be considered, because these are the people who have been helping Kisumu County run even without teachers employed by the county government. So I support and I believe that as the Vice Chair Agriculture, we are going to work on a system so that the next budget, the chair budget,
Honorable Billy should wind in the next 1 minute.
the chair budget will help us so that we give more allocation to agriculture, and I'm also saying this on behalf of my chair, so that we end up meeting the Maputo Declaration where agriculture was to be given 10%, and I believe with that, Kisumu County is going to have enough to feed its people. Thank you.
Honorable Regina Kizito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Zach, for remembering the super MCA. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the report, and I want to say that I'm also happy that the County Assembly is going to domesticate Cess Act for proper administration and utilization of cess revenue. And the fact that we are also going to have new 200 teachers for ECD is also a plus. The feeding program, the 25 million that is also allocated for the feeding program is also a plus. And the fact that it is going to be transferred to ECD centers for proper utilization of the funds sums it up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the report.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Being the last person to speak, Mr. Speaker, let me be as brief as possible. Mr. Speaker, let me start by supporting the report, and I also want to applaud the chair budget committee for the work done. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Committee of Budget has done a tremendous job, and I'm happy when I heard the chair emphasizing and assuring the members, honorable members, that the ward-based projects are going to be prioritized on areas which, as we know, because of the financial constraints. So I'm happy because I've seen the list, the annex, and I've seen how the ward-based projects are listed. What I wanted to ask the chair is to make sure, because he said we don't have enough finance, I would ask him to make sure all the wards get projects equally. That if it is 20 million, let's all the wards get projects worth 20 million. Another area which I wanted also to commend the budget, Mr. Speaker, is the ECD, and that is to say the recruitment of ECD teachers. Mr. Speaker, you remember very well. This is had come before my committee, that is for labor, and it was a statement I remember from one of our honorable members, Honorable Odari, and we tabled this report, and if this is going to solve the anxiety which the statement had, I think it's going to augur well to the members, because I remember there were some ECD teachers who were supposed to be recruitment, but that exercise went under, and it has caused some anxiety within the county. Mr. Speaker, I'm also happy to hear about members talking about the bursary. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the members, this morning I gave a notice on the issue of bursary, and as it is the norm of the Assembly, I believe next week we are going to discuss this, the motion, and see where we can fix this problem of the bursary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that's what I have, and I support.
Honorable Karen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Committee on Budget and Appropriation and the leadership of our able chair, Jackie Mukech, for the good work they have done. Honorable Speaker, there are some projects I had proposed to be placed under city. Unfortunately, I've seen them placed under water and sanitation. I therefore request the committee to take notice of that. Honorable Speaker, this report has good recommendations. Yesterday, I moved a motion on the matter of cess deduction from the sugarcane farmers in Nyando and Moroni sub-counties. And one of the recommendations was that as a county, we should have a policy or regulation guiding the utilization of cess in Kisumu County. Without that, Honorable Speaker, there is no way the cess collected from the sugar belt regions can be plowed back to maintain the roads. And as Assembly, we should start working on that. Because yesterday, my colleagues from those areas were very furious and they were not happy with my report. But today, I repeat, unless we have regulation or policy, the money collected cannot be plowed back to help you. I support.
I think Honorable Pamela.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Joachim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've had a draft of very many contributions and recommendations made by members emanating from the report. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, are just comments, and those applauding some of the recommendations that we made as a committee. And I also want to thank them. And I also agree, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Jagongo was proposing that the employment to represent the face of the county. And by that they meant that these employments come from the ward level, and they also ensure that they are locals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also support that, and I believe that this as a committee we'll make recommendations, but I believe it will be fixed further with the sector committee that is equally in charge of doing the relevant oversight to be able to help, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one thing that Honorable Jagongo said that I also want to emphasize is the support of the hospitals to be able to collect money. Remember, I said earlier that out of the money that was given to the hospitals, 800 million will be collected through FIF. And therefore, there was a proposal, Mr. Speaker. Of course, we really have to be very careful how we are going to implement it. But if we really have to help our hospitals be able to be self-sustainable, we must help them in other areas of fees and charges that we will be implementing in this hospital, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to bring to the attention of the members that, remember, we had proposed to collect 3.6 billion as a county, and that will be clearly given outline during the finance bill. So as we try to support the estimates today, let us have in mind that in financing our budget, apart from what we are getting from the national government in terms of exchequer, what we are getting from the donors, remember, as a county, we have proposed to collect 3.67 billion. And that will be outlined later in our finance bill, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, let us have in mind that we have decided to let the hospital stand alone, and they'll be able to collect their money. So I hope we shall consider them at that rate. Mr. Speaker, on the Kisip portion, I've tried to be very careful, Mr. Speaker, not to enter into the Manyatabi versus its war. I want to remain neutral because I have here my sister, and on the other side, I have my in-law. So I'm really trying to remain neutral so that I can go back home happily and I can always continue visiting my sister. So I'll try to be neutral on the Kisip issue, and we allow objectivity to take over, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kwach gave us positive compliments, Mr. Speaker, and I also agree with him that under the recommendations, the naming of the FLOCA projects were in a very weird way, Mr. Speaker. It was even impossible to develop a BQ based on the naming of the project, Mr. Speaker, and therefore we had sent back the document so that they are able to professionally name the projects that to be done under FLOCA. But that does not change the framework of the projects that we were given, Mr. Speaker. On bursaries, Mr. Speaker, it is all over all the members that timely release of the bursary, and I also believe the relevant committee, together with the Committee of Finance, we need to come up with a framework of how this money can be dispersed as early as possible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dede was asking for the detailed payment of the 1 billion payment of pending bills. And I am very happy that he did attend our sectoral meetings in Nairobi because we did invite him as chair for water, and I believe he was present when the list for all the court decrees and all the legal fees and all other pending bills that was accumulating to over 5-point-something billion was presented. Of course, I do agree with him that we need now to know that because we are appropriating 800 million, what did they pay with the 1 billion that was given? And I believe in due time we shall be able to provide the list to the members, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I did say that out of all the money allocated to city, we were only able to give a breakdown of 70 million. I just want to respond to him by saying we were only giving highlights, Mr. Speaker. We cannot give in the main report because we are not reviewing a completely new budget. The budget was submitted here on the assembly. It is on our WhatsApp group. We are only mentioning areas that we have made recommendations, areas that we have made a little bit of changes, but the mother report remains the same. And therefore, that is why I only mentioned a few areas of the city, but their O&M, their P&E still remains the same, and nothing has been changed on that, Honorable Member. On poor caption of road in his word, no, that is also on Arebedede. On Kombok, that shall be corrected, Mheshimiwa. Thank you very much. I also agree with Honorable James Omolo, Mr. Speaker. He was grateful for the money that is going to the school, the capitation money that is sent to the schools, Mr. Speaker. That is a recommendation that we all agree. We also agree with the money for recruitment of ECD teachers, Mr. Speaker. On skewed nature of the KRB roads, Mr. Speaker, of course, as a committee, we did try to correct the skewness on FLOCA projects, Mr. Speaker, but of course, his word has been left out. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, before we finalized on a few of these reports, we did have the opportunity again to write back to the CCM for roads. And I think that was in the presence of the CCM Finance on the issue of KRB. I have attempted to explain to Honorable James, maybe the reason the CC tried to give us a little bit of a small allocation to his ward, but of course I do agree that that should not warrant small allocation to West Nyakach. But the CCM for roads were explaining that because on machine-based, they did do a road in his ward that is close to 8-point-something kilometer, so he felt the need maybe to reallocate the money to other wards. But I still believe that the fairness should imply, and I'm very sure that, Honorable James, before we conclude on the report on the bill tomorrow, there's something that will be done on this. We don't want to be unfair to the members of West Nyakach. Honorable Lumumba, I also thank you for commending the committee for doing a good job. On BOQs, the chair roads is just seated beside me, and at least he has had all these complaints. The BOQs, some of these BOQs are not near accurate. The engineers don't go to the ground, so they prepare BOQs, contractors are given work, but they are unable to complete. That was also coming out during the deliberations in different sectors, and I believe that this time around we are able to correct if the projects are to be completed by December, as we talk about. I also agree with Honorable James Were. The issue of the pending bill list has to be done. How much has been paid? How much has been left? The skewed departmental projects, this we have attempted to correct, Mheshimiwa. I know that there are always attempts to skew the projects based on where the chief officer, where the CC comes from, and probably some even happen where the chair for that particular sectoral committee comes from. And that is why we had written back to all the CCs so that they attempt to spread the projects across and not skew them based on where the different chairs are coming from. On scholarships to be paid in time, we equally think that should happen. You also mentioned something on timeliness of the BOQs and the engineers to go on site. That one I also support, and we must ensure. I'm very sure the chair should be able to pick this so that they help us on the oversight part of that. I also want to thank Honorable Komudo. On the sales issue, we all agree, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader also raised an issue here which is very, very key on the issue of the 150 million for stadium. And I want to make it very clear that in our report, the 150 million has been appropriated under the Department of Sports. But in our final report, which is on the bill, the money shall be domiciled under the Department of Roads and Infrastructure, and not even city had been proposed before. The governor has a lot of confidence under the Department of Roads and Infrastructure, and therefore is asking the support of the members that we allow the construction of the Moi Stadium to be domiciled under the Department of Roads and Infrastructure. So the 150 million under the bill will be transferred to the Department of Infrastructure so that they are able to implement that. I also want to thank Honorable Mildred for the positive compliments. We also agree on the employment of all the city's teachers. It's a concern that we should spread it across, and also the issue of the bursaries to be sorted. Machine-based is not properly functioned, and Honorable Mildred feels that why are we continue funding? We all agree that there are issues on machine-based, in as much as it is a very good program. And because we feel it is a very good program, but very many challenges on the implementation part, that is why we had to reduce the amount from over 90 million to 40 million. We took away 51 million from the department so that they are able to sort the issues of implementation before they ask for additional fund probably in the next budget. And therefore, I have to ensure, Honorable Mildred, that as a committee we have done something and we've reduced the money. Time for FLOCA. FLOCA is a conditional grant, and these are transfers that are made. And therefore, I want to assure the House that as we speak, there are monies that have come, and these monies have special accounts where the monies are transferred. And therefore, the county will not lose the money. The monies have been transferred to the relevant accounts, and therefore the process of procurement, I'm being informed that I think it's yesterday or today that advertisements have been made, and I think the process of procurement have begun, and I hope the contractors will be able to respond appropriately. Honorable Billy is asking for us to achieve the Maputo Declaration, but he happened to have asked that as I was seated next to the Chair Rhodes, and the Chair Rhodes was making a joke, Mr. Speaker, that do we give Honorable Billy Maputo ama tupe barabara, achague moja, on a lighter note. So, Honorable Billy, very on a lighter note, so that you choose between Maputo and Rhodes. But I agree with you that we had promised to attempt to reach the 10% Maputo Declaration, and that is why, if you are very keen on our report, we are gradually increasing the money allocated to agriculture. Of course, they did ask for few monies for their O&M. We've granted them half of what they had requested, and I believe probably in the supplementary, we shall continue to gradually add more money to that particular department, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Gina just gave us positive feedback. She thinks the committee has done a good job, and I want to thank her for that. Honorable Koyo has also applauded the committee, and I think he's also insisting that the recruitment of teachers, Mr. Speaker, be very fair, and it has to represent the face of the county. These teachers, they must be very local, Mr. Speaker. Timely payment of bursaries, which is cutting across, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Honorable Karen that the misappropriated project that has been put underwater, we are going to attempt to correct it so that it appears under city, as you had indicated. Mr. Speaker, one last comment. And this I want to inform all the members that they have to take note. Mr. Speaker, you know, members of this House are very normal members. They are very good members, but they are very sly. And the reason why I'm saying so, in our list for these projects from public participation, some of the members had indicated a raft of projects from public participation. But there are very many projects, then they write the amount as 20. So if you look at the list that probably we have, the projects are very many, but the members have written 20. So I know we are going to do something because we had agreed it should be 20 million. So I think that in our technical team, there was a slight oversight, and because we had printed it from Word as they had presented, we noticed that as we were doing our last analysis together with the team from the Treasury, the team of Elias, and we realized that members have written 20, but if you look at the tabulation of the projects, they're actually not 20. Some are 28, some are 25, some are even 30. So members expect calls from the Treasury so that we are able to attempt to correct that, to be fair to all the members, because if we had agreed it is 20 million, let us take to 20 million, because we don't want to answer for the questions of unfairness. Because I know everybody wants more money, but let us take to 20. So if you're one of them, like my friend Chair Water is laughing, you umepatikana. Otherwise, I want to thank all these members, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I don't want to fail to mention the 170 additional allocation to the Assembly ceiling. We really have to thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we want to ask you for your intervention. We really needed this money, and I hope that before we complete on the bill, we are able to have the document, because we want to furnish that assembly, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we need you to use your connection to help us get the final document before close of business today, so that it be part of our bill by tomorrow, and we ensure that the assembly is finished and we are able to furnish it. Otherwise, I'm very grateful to the leadership of the assembly, very grateful to all the members of the budget committee. It was a very long journey. I'm very grateful to members of the assembly. We've had interactions throughout, all the chairs, Mr. Speaker, the secretariat, and the other teams from the assembly, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank them for working with us throughout the journey, and I ask them to support and help us approve all these recommendations, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, now that the motion for adoption of a report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2024-2025 have been moved, seconded, debated, and the reply made. As per our standing orders, I want to put a question. And the question is, there is many of the opinion that the motion, adoption of a report of Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term be adopted. Say aye. Aye. As many of the contrary opinions say nay. The ayes have it. And the motion, adoption of a report of Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 and the medium term is adopted today, Wednesday, the 26th of June at 17:24 hours. And the adoption of this report means that now we can proceed with the appropriation bill. And I direct that the chair budget and the concerned members and staff proceed to the next level, which shall be the appropriation bill. I believe in the morning session, during the statement time, Majority Leader had made some statement regarding the same. So otherwise, I wish you the best. Next order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. There's no other business to be transacted in the order paper.
At 2:30 p.m.